Welcome back to From the Pages of Wrestling. Today, the 1988 issue, 5 from the Super Sports series. This is one of those late 1980s wrestling magazines that arrives with a clear message right from the beginning. The editors open the issue with an editorial titled, "No Fluff," and the tone is almost confrontational. They explain that there are dozens of wrestling magazines on the newsstands, many of them filled with what they describe as carnival-style fluff. Loud entrances, colorful gimmicks, side stories that have nothing to do with the action inside the ring. This magazine claims it wants something different. The editors say their goal is to focus on the wrestling itself, the competition, the analysis, and the stories that revolve around the sport inside the ropes. They even divide fans into two groups, those who enjoy the spectacle and those who care about the wrestling itself. The magazine makes it clear which audience it wants to reach. Before the features even begin, the issue already reflects the era through its advertisements. One of the earliest ads invites fans to dial a hotline connected to world-class championship wrestling. The number promises interviews with top stars, television schedules, ratings information, and special tour announcements tied to the Von Erichs and their promotion. It is a reminder of how wrestling promotions in the 1980s were experimenting with telephone hotlines as a way to deliver insider information to fans willing to pay by the minute. Another advertisement challenges readers with a bold headline daring them to play a game called Cage Match, a pro wrestling trivia board game boasting more than 1,000 questions about wrestling history. The premise is simple but clever. Players answer trivia questions about tag teams, champions, villains, heroes, and managers in order to escape from a steel cage before their opponent does. The ad promises excitement and bragging rights for the wrestling fan who truly knows the sport. Elsewhere, the magazine carries advertisements that reveal just how wide the sports memorabilia market had become by the late 1980s. One page promotes collectible boxing posters featuring classic fights such as Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier and Roberto Duran versus Davey Moore. Another advertisement offers sports video cassettes produced by NFL Films, including compilations of football hits and bloopers. Even a page offering official sports jerseys and caps appears, reminding readers that wrestling fans were often part of a broader sports culture that collected memorabilia from multiple leagues. Eventually, the magazine turns its attention fully to the wrestling world with its first major feature, Superstar Billy Graham, The Last Hurrah. The story looks back at Graham's extraordinary influence on professional wrestling. In the 1970s, Graham was one of the most colorful champions in the sport. His massive arms, tie-dyed outfits, and charismatic interviews helped reshape what a wrestling superstar looked like. The article points out that Graham dominated the decade so thoroughly that some organizations even called him Wrestler of the Decade for the 1970s. But the feature is not simply a nostalgic look at Graham's glory years. Instead, it focuses on his attempt to return to the ring after suffering a devastating hip injury that required major surgery. At one point, doctors believed he might never wrestle again. Yet Graham fought his way back, surprising fans by returning to action and trying to prove that he still had one final run left in him. The article treats this comeback with a mixture of admiration and realism. Graham may still be strong enough to defeat mid-level opponents like the Honky Tonk Man or members of the Islanders, but the question remains whether he can still compete with the new generation of stars such as Randy Savage or Hercules Hernandez. The feature ends with the sense that Graham's legacy is secure, regardless of what happens next. Few wrestlers shaped the look and attitude of modern wrestling the way superstar Billy Graham did. And the next feature turns to a very different kind of wrestler, Killer Kahn. The personification of fear examines the career of the massive Mongolian villain managed by Mr. Fuji. The article explains that Kahn has spent more than 15 years in professional wrestling and continues to improve even after all that time. Much of his success, according to the story, comes from the partnership he shares with Fuji. The two men create an aura of menace that intimidates opponents before the match even begins. The article argues that Kahn wins not only through strength but through psychological warfare. Opponents often feel fear the moment they step into the ring with him. Some wrestlers interviewed for the story say that facing Kahn feels like facing someone who is operating in another world entirely. Even when they try to attack him, he seems immune to pain and distraction. Whether that reputation comes from skill, intimidation, or occasional rule-bending tactics is left for readers to decide. What the article makes clear is that Killer Kahn has built a reputation that many opponents find impossible to overcome. Another piece shifts into fantasy territory with matches we would all like to see in WrestleMania IV. The writers imagine dream scenarios for the upcoming event, including a main event steel cage match between Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper. The article looks back at previous WrestleMania moments, including Hogan teaming with Mr. T to defeat Piper and Paul Orndorff. From there, it speculates about how future WrestleMania cards might look if as promoters match the biggest personalities against each other in dramatic ways. The Fan Speak section takes a survey of readers across the country and asks a simple question. Who is the most exciting wrestler in the sport today? The results point clearly toward the Road Warriors. Fans do not separate Animal and Hawk as individuals. They treat the team as a single unstoppable force. Their brutal power and chaotic style have made them the most electrifying act in the sport, according to the poll. Finishing second is Ricky Steamboat, whose fast-paced technical style offers a very different kind of excitement. Another feature tackles an unusual topic in Ric Flair's image problem. The article argues that, despite being one of the most successful champions in wrestling, Flair sometimes struggles to project the aura of invincibility expected from a world champion. Flair's personality, arrogance, and flashy lifestyle can make him seem vulnerable even when he wins. The piece explores whether that perception hurts his reputation or whether it actually adds to the drama of his matches. Women's wrestling receives attention in Debbie Combs' Sherry Martel's Nightmare. Debbie Combs, trained by her legendary mother Cora Combs, is presented as a rising challenger determined to capture the women's championship from Sherry Martel. The article describes Debbie as disciplined and focused, someone who has been preparing for this moment her entire life. One of the most creative features in the magazine appears under the headline, Computer Picks Wrestler Most Likely to Defeat Hulk Hogan. The writers feed various statistics and factors into a computer analysis program to determine which wrestler has the best chance of defeating the dominant champion. The surprising result is Jesse the Body Ventura, who receives an 85% rating as Hogan's most dangerous potential opponent. Perhaps the most emotional article in the issue centers on Magnum TA winning the biggest fight of his life. The story revisits the tragic automobile accident that ended Magnum's wrestling career and nearly took his life. Once one of the brightest rising stars in wrestling, Magnum suddenly found himself fighting a battle far more serious than anything inside the ring. The article describes his long recovery and the determination he showed in rebuilding his life after the accident. Another feature asks a broader question about the sport itself. Where have all the big men gone? The article suggests that professional wrestling may be moving away from the era of giant heavyweights who dominated earlier decades. Instead, the new generation emphasizes speed, agility, and athletic movement. Wrestlers are becoming faster and more versatile, changing the way matches look inside the ring. A profile of Tito Santana celebrates the veteran competitor's popularity and longevity. For more than a decade, Santana has been one of wrestling's most respected performers. The article highlights his reputation for sportsmanship and his ability to connect with fans across the country. The historical section, Wrestling Today's Yesterday, revisits the career of the Sheik, one of the most notorious villains the sport ever produced. With his manager Abdullah Farouk at his side, the Sheik created chaos in arenas everywhere he went. The article paints him as a master of controversy whose wild matches left lasting memories for fans. Finally, the magazine shines a light on an underrated competitor and wrestling's best kept secret, Flying Billy Anderson. Despite more than a decade of success, Anderson rarely receives the recognition given to bigger stars. The article argues that his consistent performances have quietly placed him among the top competitors in the sport. Elsewhere, the magazine includes its regular departments. Wrestling's Hot Wire delivers rumors and commentary about wrestlers like Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, Andre the Giant, and the Hart Foundation. The World Ratings list ranks the top 50 wrestlers in the world, with Hulk Hogan at number 1, followed by Randy Savage and Kerry Von Erich. A photo essay highlights Dusty Rhodes, while several pinup pages feature the Hart Foundation, Al Madrill, Tully Blanchard, and Ted DiBiase. The centerfold poster presents the Road Warriors in full intimidating glory. Taken together, Wrestling Today, Issue 5, captures a moment when the sport was exploding in popularity across North America. New stars were rising, legends were attempting comebacks, and fans were debating everything from dream matches to the future direction of the industry. If you enjoy revisiting classic wrestling magazines like this and exploring the stories hidden inside their pages, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. There are many more issues waiting to be opened, and each one reveals another chapter in the history of professional wrestling. See you next time. Farewell from the Empire State.